Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Career Evangelist podcast. On today's episode, we have Larry Salazar. He is here to tell us about workplace benefit and how you can use that in your career and life. And with that, we'll bring in our guest. Hello, Larry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome to have you join us here today. So, Larry, why not introduce yourself to our audience so that they can know you and know what you do?
Yeah, my name is Larry Salazar. I'm the president and co-founder of NestSTEPS, which transforms home ownership into an employee benefit. My wife and I, we started this company about 7 months ago, and it's been an absolute thrill. It's been a fantastic ride. Prior to this, I will say that I spent most of my career in communications, in marketing and product, and I've done it for both globally recognized brands as well as small dynamic organizations. And while I've worked in a variety of industries, I think it was my experience in working for companies in the financial service space, in employee benefit solution space, and real estate services that ultimately put me on this path to where we are today.
Oh, that's awesome. So, can you walk us through the your business next steps? What problem exactly are you solving, and why did no one else solve this problem before you?
I think there's several problems we're trying to solve, and it's because we have multiple different audiences. For the employees, this is an important piece because we want to help them achieve financial well-being. Now, there's programs that within an organization that they offer to help you achieve financial well-being, like 401ks, right? But that's really a very long-term type of benefit. You don't really see the benefits until you're able to cash out years and years later. And today's audience are looking for things that are a little bit more tangible. There's a lot of studies that are out there that indicate they're not even sure if 401k is enough for retirement. They're not sure that the Social Security will even be around by then. And the biggest problem that people don't realize is that if we're talking about financial well-being, housing should play a big part of it. I don't know if you know this, but 1/3 of household spending is on housing. That's a huge chunk. So if we're talking about financial well-being or even just financial stress that interrupts our day-to-day work, you have to have housing part of that conversation. That's a big problem that we're trying to solve for. That's the first part. And the second part is really for the employers. Look, there are a lot of employers who are trying to figure out how to build loyal workforces, right? They use benefits, for instance. A lot of them talk about, the health insurance that they provide, the 401k, the matching, and then you have a whole bunch of, ancillary type of services that are available. And then there are some employers who go a little bit further. They do ping pong tables, right? They do stocked kitchens and, happy Friday meals and stuff like that. Those little things that they try to make the workplace experience more relevant, more enjoyable.
Mhm.
And the challenge here is that it hasn't really improved loyalty. It hasn't really improved retention. And so the cost to employers is great because the turnover is extensive. And so they're not just paying for rehiring that person, they're also having to deal with the fact that they have stretched teams. They sometimes lose institutional knowledge and so forth. And so what we're doing is providing a benefit that helps them to drive real loyalty because we're not just dealing with workplace experiences, we're dealing with real life experiences at this point.
That's so good. So now let's break it down. You
Yeah.
call it home ownership benefit. So let's say there is someone there out there, a professional. He wants to engage with Next Steps. How does that work? Will they reach out to you? How will that? Because you talk about 401k. How does this translate to benefit for people?
Yeah, we do three things specifically for the employer and the employees. The first thing we do is we enable the employees by providing a technology platform that helps them achieve healthy financial behavior and accelerate home savings. That's an important piece. That same platform allows the employer to track the impact of that program against uh, operational KPIs like retention. That's number one. So we enable them. Then we empower them, right, by providing live workshops, educational workshops, and one-on-one guidance on home ownership. And if you already own a home, on how to leverage that home for the purpose of long-term financial well-being. And then the third piece is we work directly with the employer to develop and design a contribution model where it makes sense, right? So let's say, for instance, if you're an employer, and these are some of the things that we actually hear from these employers that we talk to. One of them, for instance, wanted to offer $3,000 per year to their employees that already own a home. And that means they're going to break that out quarterly for the purpose of paying down a mortgage. And in addition to that, they wanted to offer $5,000 to any employee buying a home. That money would go towards a down payment. So at first, it seemed like that was a pretty rich program, but we went through the table with them and went through the numbers, and it made sense. It comes out ahead for them. They come out net positive, and the fact that they're able to reduce the turnover costs. So that's how we actually go about doing it. So as an employee, they would actually come sign up for the program. They would participate in that program. They would set themselves up on our platform, and our licensed professionals will work with them on a one-on-one basis to guide them through that journey. Same thing with the employers. We provide them that guidance on helping them achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve using this program.
So basically, right now, you only work with home owners. What do you tell people that
No,
are
no, no, not necessarily homeowners.
okay?
It's both homeowners and those who are purchasing or wanting to purchase a home. So we're
Okay,
helping them prepare to buy a home by providing the education. And so if the employer also chooses, they can provide a contribution for the purchase of a home itself.
okay. So, I know you gave an example that maybe employer that are
Mhm.
participating, they can help their employee towards down payments, or maybe you said $3,000, maybe they can distribute it as a benefit to their employee. How does that work?
So we actually go in and we take a look at their existing data, right? Their turnover data.
Right.
What does it cost? What is their, average salary for their employees? What's their turnover rate historically? We measure all of those things and we do an assessment in order to determine, how much can they afford to give to their employees before they actually dip into their bottom line. It's a tool that we've created specifically measuring, and taking into consideration those who are fully engaged, those who are somewhat engaged, and those who are not engaged, and trying to figure out what the anticipated turnover rate is based on, those specific numbers that they provide us. And so when we take everything into account, we're able to come up with an idea that if they provide, say, for instance, $5,000 towards paying down a home, um, they might come out ahead in terms of saved dollars uh, coming from reduced turnover rates.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's all in a system that we've put together, and it's a proprietary system that we've built over the development of this program, and it works phenomenally well. And the employers, when they see that, they just light up, right? The employers light up because they're actually able to track the impact of a benefit. And traditionally, employers don't really track that information. They just look at utilization data and maybe get survey data and so forth. But this actually tracks impact on operational KPIs.
That's so good. Now, beyond home ownership, what
Yeah.
other financial literacy habits would you say you see most successful employees practice that the average workers ignore today?
I'm sorry, would you mind asking that question one more time? I
So,
missed a little bit of it.
no, beyond home ownership, I'm
Mhm.
wondering if there are some other financial literacy habit or program that you have going that you would recommend to employees out there?
Well, we don't actually focus on anything else. We don't focus on anything else. Our primary focus is on home ownership because there's an enormous amount of data that shows the different in wealth that's created between homeowners versus renters, right?
Mm,
It's tremendous, and I can show you some data on that. But we believe that home ownership is the key to financial stability, right? If you're renting, if
mm,
you're renting your home, what
mhm.
you're doing is basically buying equity or paying for equity for your landlord, not yourself. All
Mm.
that money is going away.
That's true.
There's no way to get around that. And so we want to get people out of that cycle where they're throwing money away and unable to get ahead.
Mhm.
That's why our focus is primarily on home ownership. And so when they are done, when they're gone through our program and they've achieved home ownership, or maybe they've decided to go move forward and try to get a second home, or maybe a rental unit and so forth, we'll still continue to work with them. But beyond that, we leave that to other folks who might be able to help the employee. And they could be in the form of investments in other types of assets, right? But that's not our focus area. Our primary focus is really around home ownership.
Okay, that's good. So,
Yeah.
what's your advice for an employee who wants to pitch their company on adopting next steps from the inside? How do you make that case to HR or leadership?
Yeah, I think it's very important for employees to just express their desire for home ownership. That's the first thing, right? Explain your case to them. Why do you think home ownership is important? Because at the end of the day, if you can articulate that desire, then you can explain to them and get them to understand why it's important for the employer to be participating in it. Because if the employer can connect with you on
Mhm,
that level, meaning if the employer can connect with you on the level of home ownership, which applies to your life outside of work, and
mhm,
you're going to be able to focus more on work itself, right? A lot of people think about uh, a lot of people think about financial stress and they try to address it, right?
mhm.
But again, financial stress is something that is going to affect your work and your ability to make decisions and so forth. If you, as an employer, can help me address my real life challenges,
Mhm.
I'm going to be more loyal to you.
That's
And
right.
that's the reality. There's actually quite a few studies that specifically talk about that. There's one from JW Surety Bonds that says 4 out of 10 employees would switch employers for another employer that provides housing benefits. There's
Mhm,
another study that's out there that says 75% of employees that participate in home assistance, home ownership assistance programs, those people tend to be more satisfied compared to 60% of those who do not participate in those programs. And there's additional data points. So if you can articulate the value to you when an employer actually helps you achieve home ownership, I think that's what will help them to realize that this is a benefit that actually moves the needle. You don't have to invest in a whole bunch of different little niche type of benefits in order to try to help me as an employee to feel great about working here. You just need to invest in things that matter to me. You
mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's very good, and thank you for mentioning that. So now I want to understand the categories of companies that are
Yeah.
best positioned to win big with next steps. Is this going to be for Fortune 500 companies, small
No.
SEs, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. At the end of the day, the smaller the company is going to be a little bit harder for them to see the return on investment, right? But what happens is if you do this in a group, I'll give you a quick example. We work with a PEO right now, and that PEO, are you familiar with PEOs?
No, what's that?
So, in a nutshell, what they do is they they bring multiple different small employer groups together and they provide a benefit in a sense that they can use their EIN. And so they can get them better rates for insurance and other types of benefits, right? And they also are able to provide maybe payroll programs and so forth. But we work with a PEO and they're ready to roll out our program specifically to a large group of smaller employers bundled together. And so for the smaller businesses, you can work together with other employers and create a sort of a network that we can roll this out to. So typically, our business focuses about 100 employees and up. But again, if you work with a PEO, that makes it a lot easier, and you can again group yourself together with other employers in order to benefit from this specific solution that we have.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, Larry, I
Yeah.
want you to take our listeners through a step-by-step approach.
Mhm.
What does the next step journey look like from day one for an employee who wants to enroll in your program?
Well, let's assume that the employer has engaged us, right? We've gone through the specific contracting and so forth. It's pretty simple. We send out a link either through the employer or directly to the employees, and the employees can voluntarily sign up for the program. Okay. When they sign up for the program, they will be enrolled into a six-part educational workshop, typically one every week. And it's going to be likely going to be during the lunch hour. But it's about a 45-minute workshop. There's six workshops. Again, those workshops cover everything from, understanding the current market, knowing where to get your finances, what do you need to get the best loans and so forth. Okay. So that's the first piece. And then along the way, our home advisor and our equity architects, these are licensed professionals in real estate and in financial services, they will meet with you. The equity architect will set you up on that platform, okay? And that platform will help you manage your savings and your income. And this is a really, really important piece because traditionally, your paychecks are dropped into your checking account. And what happens there is it gets spent because the checking account is meant to be used for spending. And so what we do is we help you create a new primary deposit account. And so your money, all your income goes into that first. And in other words, we're creating a new default for you. Your new default is save money. Our platform then connects that account to your checking account. And based on the budget that you've set and the strategy you set with your equity architect and your home advisor, they will automatically transfer funds to pay for bills that way. And then when you try to pull more money out, it'll tell you, are you sure you want to do that? Because you're not going to be able to hit your goals of buying that home. So that platform will be set up. And there, like I said, there's six workshops. Our advisors will work with you all along the journey. And then when you're ready, you will be able to request an amount specifically from your employer, and that's when you're ready to purchase a home. And so the employer will then send the dollars directly to the title company so you can so they can help you close on that home. It's as simple as that. It's incredibly simple, but what's incredibly powerful about that is that the platform and the advisors are helping you change or at least improve your financial behavior. So it's not just a one-time thing. You carry that skill and that learned understanding about financial behaviors throughout the rest of your life.
Oh, okay, that's good. Now,
Yeah.
when we think about the current interest rate environment, with high interest
Yeah.
rate, does this program still make sense? And how do you counsel employee on proper timing?
Yeah, so there's a number of factors that you have to take into consideration on that one, and that will be advised through your home advisor and your equity architect, and we will also have preferred lenders who will be able to help with some of those questions. But I would just say this, okay, and because what you're bringing up is very important. A lot of people are afraid to buy a home because of interest rates. But if you think about it, there is a chart that we have that shows home prices going up over the last 50 years, okay, with one tiny blip during the market crash in 2008.
Yeah.
It came down a little bit, but then it accelerated going up.
Hmm.
The point here is the home prices will do this, but
Oh,
they always goes up, which means if you wait on your interest rates, the home prices is going up. You're losing out on that. It's better to purchase a home when regardless of the interest rate, because you can always refi when the interest rate comes down. but you can't refi the price of that home. So that's, I'm not a financial service advisor, right? We have our people who are specifically focused on it. I'm not a lender, but that's my opinion, my personal opinion on that. Our folks will directly work with the individual employee to talk about what their best options are.
Oh, that's so good. So, as we wrap it, Larry, what's one thing listeners can do this week to take a step towards financial stability and I'll say career security?
Yeah, I think it's important for them to learn more about home ownership and the value it brings to their financial stability and their financial well-being. You can go look things up on your own. I would strongly suggest that you connect with us. I know that sounds very self-serving, but we provide education. So connect with us. Go to our website at www.neststepsbenefits.com. That's nest as in bird nest, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Larry Salazar. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Just send me an invite. But again, I think it's really important for people to understand the value of home ownership as it relates to their own financial security. One last thing I would add, and that is, 9 in 10 millionaires invest in real estate.
Right.
The reason is because they understand the value that it creates over time. And if you're not purchasing, if you're not owning a home, you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity to ensure that you have a secure financial future.
All right. Thank you very much, Larry, for joining
Yeah,
us here today.
absolutely.
We appreciate your time. I'm sure my listeners, they are going to find this also beneficial. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate being here.
All right. Take care.